Next up is comments. So comments add more substance to your activity on LinkedIn. So they're more useful to your brand and your personality than just likes, but you should use a combination of both of them. I'll usually like something and then add a comment. So why would you want to add a comment and write something? Well, that's because comments make a conversation more meaningful. It actually lets that conversation take place. If someone says something, you reply, and they keep going with it and add on, that builds a conversation that perhaps more people will join in on. And then people who are in your network will see you as part of this conversation, and they'll associate smart ideas, good conversation with you. So that's the overall gist of it. So a few more points here is that when you write comments, you don't just want them to be something like, thank you, Tim. If you need to add more content than that. So if someone writes something and you want to write a comment, say, thank you, Tim. That was a very insightful and interesting idea. I'd love to hear more about X, Y, and Z. So you're giving them something to build the conversation off of. And also, when you add more sentences and words to a comment, it helps the LinkedIn algorithm pick it up and share it with more people in their feeds if that's something that you want to do. And so commenting is a great way to jump into a conversation that someone else is having and to make yourself seem interesting and to share your perspective and to keep yourself on other people's radar. So if you scroll through your feed and you see something interesting, all you have to do is say here's this post. It's about a toy maker. You can say, wow, that is really interesting. I'd love to see how this affects the toy industry overall. I know from experience that consolidations shift the market for consumer demand. And then of course you want to spell correctly. So this is something that someone else can build off of. You're not just saying, wow, that's really interesting. Add something to the conversation. And that's the point of good comments. And all you have to do is hit post and it'll go out to your network. But I'm not going to post this one. And I have a few more tips here for good commenting practice. So a few things that you want to remember are, when you are commenting, don't just post something and walk away. Wait for someone to respond, and then, like I said, develop that into a conversation. Keep it moving. Because if they see that they always comment on your stuff and you never comment it back, in the future they may not want to take the time to engage with your content, and that's not a good thing for building your brand. Another point to remember is that you don't want to over-comment. If you're leaving something on every single post, again, your audience is going to be inundated with the overflow of information that doesn't help the most practical information stand out and reach their attention. And then there's the golden rule. If you don't have something nice to say, perhaps don't say anything at all. You don't want to say something mean, derogatory, or negative that is going to reflect on somebody on LinkedIn, because they may get offended and that may make your brand be associated with negative things. Again, things that you don't want. So if you see something, you don't particularly agree with it, perhaps it's better to say nothing. And then something that I also want to add here is, if you see a very popular post, don't add a comment just to try and gain visibility, especially if it doesn't build on the conversation. This is something that people do on LinkedIn. They'll plug a product or just say something silly to get their name out there, and it reflects bad on them. So if you can remember these 4 pieces of advice with commenting on LinkedIn, you'll do okay.